We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email john@nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Talking to myself again, but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say.
Good evening, welcome along to NUFC Matters. It is me, Steve Wraith. It is the Fans Forum. Chock-a-block tonight. Alan's here, Ian. We've got Vince, Darren, George, John, Kevin, and I know we've got one or two others potentially coming on tonight as well. So welcome to you all. Welcome to everybody in the chat at the start of another week. Plenty to talk about. And first of all, rest in peace to Craig Brown, the news breaking tonight that the former Scotland and Aberdeen manager, amongst others, has passed away peacefully in his sleep, aged 82. So our thoughts, as always, with his family. And let's speak to Alan first. Alan, we were in the green room before, and you were. I'm glad, because a lot of people on here you like to have a little bit moan every now and then. Great to hear you moaning, not about Newcastle United, Alan. What were you moaning about?
England. In Australia.
Cricket.
Yeah. Well, see, lads, it's a toss-up between football and cricket for me. I've always been, long before Durham became a county championship team, I've always loved the game since I've spent my time in my youth missing school because I listened to the cricket from Australia, being up all night listening to that. So I know some of the lads will think I'm crazy, but it's one of my great loves. I'm a sports fanatic all over. I know Vince is smiling away at that, but I was down in the dumps for 2 days after that defeat. And Lords doesn't help. We're coming up on Wednesday because we've hardly won there in 80-odd years. We've only won twice there in about since 1935, so against Australia. So things aren't looking good for us, but hey, we'll have hope.
Cheer up, Alan. I mean, I'm not gonna saturate this with cricket, but overall, Alan, I've got to be honest. I watched it each day. It could have gone either way. England were in the lead, best part of that game, and then it just ran away from them. I could almost predict it. It was like Stockholm syndrome watching England cricket team, because I thought we're going to lose this. We're going to lose it, and we did. So I get where you're coming from, mate. I do enjoy watching the action.
How I judge the cricket team, Steve, is Australia, Man United, and we're the entertainers. Newcastle, that's what it is. That's what we are at the minute.
All right, let's get back to football. Tonali is looking like it's going to be our first major signing through the door. Of course, Newcastle have already signed Yankuba Minteh. And from our perspective, this is a big signing. And when you look at the you look at what people are saying, especially in Italy, the fans, people in Syria are saying that this is potentially one of the best players leaving the league. Tears or no tears, Alan, it's a great signing at a great price, and literally just waiting for the I to be dot, the T's to be crossed, and the medical to be passed, and it's all systems go.
It's absolutely fantastic signing, Steve, lads, because the fans' reaction, it just reminds me of Danny Carroll's here for us 10, 12 years ago. I was in a room with talking with Peter Beattie of all people, and Peter was trying to defend Ashley's, point of view that he had to go for 35 million. Now the Milan fans are in exactly the same boat as us, where they've got owners that for the right price they'll sell anybody. So the Milan fans' reaction is, understandable, because I was there in a room at St James's Park before Porto got with 5th that season, and so I understand the reaction. I mean, all the fans' reactions from Milan is, like, why go to Newcastle? They've got nothing there. The city's basically depressing. No food, no nightlife, this, that, and the other. And they've really went to town on the city. And I'm thinking, well, the lad didn't have to sign the contract.
You've obviously not been to the big market.
This exactly. This idea he was crying in my eyes, if I can say the word, Steve, is bollocks, because he would be crying of joy because he's got double the wages. I don't see anybody that is double or triple their wages be crying about that, playing a game of football. Now, from my point of view, it's absolutely tremendous. And I'll try and keep it brief now, lads. He's got a lot to prove. A lot of people are now coming with the idea that a lot of Italians don't make it good in the Premier League. So he's got a lot to prove. But I just hope the lad doesn't get hide out in the middle of nowhere like Joe Willock and left to get on with it. I hope he gets time to settle. People don't put too much expectation on him and let him get into the team, and he have a great joy welcome, and long may it continue. Great signing, lads.
Yeah, it's not been finalised yet, Ian. And somebody in the chat saying there's lots of stuff going around saying there's going to be there's a problem with it, etc. There's no problem with it. Newcastle will no doubt be wanting to get this signing, in the can on the 1st of July when the European window opens. And I think we've seen this before as well with Newcastle when they announce that they're going to sign a player, or we know they're close to doing it. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen overnight. They take their time. He's obviously had under 21 internationals to get out the way, but Newcastle will do it in their own time. They'll want to do it properly. They'll want to do a big announcement and do the big social media announcement, the unveil. Do it properly, Ian.
Yeah, he's, from what all the reports say, he's had his medical now, so there's obviously no problem with that, or at least the first part of the medical. If there was a problem, trust me, we would have known about a problem. So, the window for us to sign him doesn't open anyway until the 1st of July, like you said, Steve. So, we can't expect really anything until after that point, because what would be the point in doing a big announcement where you can't actually announce anything properly? They're very social media savvy, like you say. The owners are, come from, well, certainly Amanda Staveley's from a marketing background. So there's no way that they're just going to go off with a damp squib. And, everybody knows he's signed, and it's there and done. And with regards to the crying thing, his own, I can't remember his name now, Giuseppe something, or I can't remember what he's called, but his own agents come out and made a statement saying, obviously it's his boyhood club, he loves the club, but, there was no tears about it. Like, at the end of the day, it's business, isn't it? And he's excited by the move. Everyone wants to play in the Premier League, which pretty much, now looking at it, everybody does want to play in the Premier League or get a payday and go to Saudi, So now I can't wait for him to come in. I've been trying to get the highlights for the under-21s game the other day. All I can get is like a load of drivel. Like, I don't know where it's from. It's just a load of, like, it looks like it's actually highlights, and then it just turns up that it's just some bloke speaking in some weird accent about what happened in the game. So yeah, I've not actually seen it, but from all reports, he played really well and he's a class act. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him.
Yeah, definitely, Vince. I think in my time, I don't think I've seen a player who hasn't yet signed on the dotted line have 2 songs already in circulation. Twitter, the social media and Twitter, those songs are superb, by the way. I'm not going to reenact them after Friday, but yeah, I mean, it just shows that people have already bought into the idea of this guy pulling on the black and white.
Yeah, and like it's like what I said. I see people looking at Madison and that, and I'm going, you're not going to see like they would have had their plans in place to say, all right, we're going to finish at C, we're going to finish Europe as B, but we've gone in the Champions League, so they've had to let A, they've got to go, right, okay. And they've obviously been on to the Tonali, like, early on, and like getting the lads, speaking to them and all that, and bringing them down and all that. So, like, yeah, like I said, it's fantastic. Like, and this is a standard now of players that we're going to go for. And like I says, say Madison, I think like there's better players out there and cheaper as well than Madison. Like for that price and that, like what Leicester's wanting for him, stuff like that, you know. But yeah, I mean, like that's it. The songs and everything flying out, everyone's getting excited because again, the club's going out, going right. Okay, Champions League, we want a defensive midfielder, and why not go for one of the best in Italy? Like says, why not? We can do that now. That's what we've got. That pull. We've got the Champions League, and the money's there as well. And again, they'll be on them, going right. This is the beginning. This is the beginning of something special. They'll be telling them, this is not going to stop. Again, young lad. He could make his name and settle here like Botman. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is what we're doing. This is what we're building. And it's just fantastic. Like, this out the box straight away. No, again, nobody really seen this one.
No.
It wasn't really mentioned. We were all looking the other way. And it's like they did before. We didn't really see Brute. We didn't know anything about Bruno. Just, all of a sudden, he's like, all right, Kate. And then they're in. And that's it. Like, it's the way they're doing business is great. And this is why just over the moon. I'm looking at the other clubs doing business, just seeing them cry and all that, and Arsenal can't afford
yeah, there's lots of chat going on, you know, about this one and that one, and Kevin, I think Vince makes a good point. You know that again, this has come from you know out of the blue. It's not something which people were talking about. I think obviously you know we'll come to Barry in a moment, but Barry's you know compiling the list, and you know it's probably about the 12th of June, I think. Barry will correct us if I'm wrong, but it was around about the 12th of June, I think, that there was a first reference, you know, that the Barry picked up. I mean, may well have been other references earlier, but it wasn't one on the radar constantly. And that's great because it shows that Newcastle are very, very good at playing this game, you know, of you know, have a look over there while we just get about our business here.
Absolutely. It's pretty much smoke screens and playing the market, essentially, and going into Milan to go after this other Inter Milan central midfielder, but actually will just go to their neighbours and nick theirs, essentially. And I watched that game, the first game of it when he was captain for Italy, and I mean, he just danced around that park as if he's an older player playing as a 23 and a 21, which the rules allow. But he just danced around that park, and yeah, I mean, he was head and shoulders, even though he'd not really got a kick. But I just sat and watched him. And what he'd done and what he would bring. A lot of chat about not him being a 6, I should say. I think he could interchange with Bruno. Like I say, Bruno pushed further forward, but again, he can do that job as well. But at the same time, he was playing as an 8 in a 3-5-2. So that's a completely different role and responsibility what he has within a 4-3-3. Or it's very similar, but at the same time, it looks like a fabulous signing, a brilliant bit of business. And from hearing reports, rumor, whatever, it seems to be less than what the actual reports are going to be. So that's if it's less, that's even better. So look, an Italian in the Premier League. I mean, I'm sure there's been a few down the line who hit the ground running. Can't think any off the top of my head at the minute, but I mean, there's been a few who come across. Look, well, Vialli and Ravanelli, they didn't do too well. Zola, yeah. Well, again, that's just the narrative what everybody else in the country want to put across, and it's sad and it's jealousy at the end of the day. And look, we got them; they did, and so we just look to the next one and see who we bring in. Again, it's excitement. It's rather than we all know who's going to be coming in. It's the excitement of the anticipation of who's coming in next, because we don't know, and I'm just sitting back here watching it all play out and unfold. So it's fantastic.
Great stuff. Barry, you're compiling the list, obviously, and it's up to 100. The numbers were up to about 145. I think you said there's probably another 6 or 7 you could have added to that yesterday. This is our list of names, which Barry's kindly agreed to compile since the 6th of June, 145 different players linked with Newcastle. But yeah, Tonali, it's only a matter of, not even 2 weeks, I guess, since that name was first mentioned, Barry.
And when you look back at it, the story initially was broken by the Daily Mail, which I honestly think there wasn't a lot. I think it was one of these cases that was stabbing a pin in a name, but then NUFC blog picked up on it and they put a bit more credence to it. So even then, I think that was almost a shot in the dark. I don't think it was, and it was very rarely mentioned again after that. I mean, there's been another 5 players today linked with today that you think, and names that we haven't had, Steve. It's like, it's starting to pick up pace for me. It's starting to, we're looking at different areas. Again, there's a couple of young uns in amongst there who you think is what you want the club to do. You want them to be looking at the youth as well. I mean, this thing about him crying, for God's sake, man, he's been at that club since he was how old? To me, as a Newcastle fan, you would look at how Bobby Clark felt leaving Newcastle. And I bet there was a few tears in that household. When you listen to Lee talking about him, it would have been the same reaction. Yeah, yes, I'm moving to a better club. I'm gonna move on from here. I'm going to improve all the time, but I'm leaving everything behind that I've done up until this point. So what if he got upset? You know, the kid wants to be here, which a lot of the players, including Madison, that were being linked with, I'm not 100% sure he actually wants to be here. And good for him. I think the kid's going to be a star. He looks. I mean, the thing about Italians, you've got Di Matteo, you've got Zola. Balotelli was world class. His just attitude was a bit nuts. But I can't think of a bad Italian off the top of my head. I mean, we had Pistoni, who had his moments when he played out his skin. Santon looked a quality player at times. Yeah. And they weren't as high up the level as this kid is. You know what I mean? He's so highly rated in Italy, they didn't want to let him go. So, God, I think he'd be an absolute star. I'm interested to see who we're getting around him, but I think he's one of the good ones. Just wait and see what happens next.
And the most expensive Italian of all time, Barry.
Exactly, which is, you think about some of the names they've had, Alan, and it's like, really? Is he the most expensive? But you look at some of the names, and Italy don't tend to let a lot of their really good players go.
That's the point.
It's unusual in the last few years for them to let them outside of Italy. So I think we've got a huge plus there as well. Not many of them actually make it outside the country.
Darren, we were talking, a lot last season about, our set pieces. You know what I mean, and that we're too reliant on Kieran Trippier. There seemed to be a period in the season where there was a little bit of lack of variation. We're often talking about the fact that centre halves. We've got the big, centre halves getting up there and just a lack of imagination. But what Tonali seems to bring as well is he brings a different option with set pieces, Darren, which I think is going to be massively beneficial moving forward.
Massively, because as you said there, Steve, everything was Trippier corner, free kicks. It was no one else. But now Tonali, he can take free kicks, probably take corners as well. So it's good going forward for Newcastle. Great signing, and then I've read the day AC Milan is going to go for ESM, so get rid of him and get somebody else in. So that's lose some money that way. Do you know what I mean? So it's. I do think what Barry said. I think Madison's. I know I said a few years ago I was confident with signing him, but now I don't think we will. So I retract what I said, because say he would have come, he would have been here by now. So I'm not expecting to sign Madison now personally. I do still think we need one more midfield player, and then look at the left back and centre half.
Yeah, we're certainly looking at left back, centre halves as well. It's going to be interesting. I think my view on Madison is simple. I think that Madison will potentially go to the window. And it doesn't necessarily mean the window closing. I mean, I don't think that means that for Newcastle. I just think that Leicester want more than people are prepared to play for him, and a lot of that comes down to the fact that they've got a percentage sell-on clause, which means that they're not going to get as much as they would hope to get for him, and it's a problem. I think Maddison would like to come to Newcastle, but I also think Maddison wants the best deal for him. And, if he's got to wait until the 1st of September on deadline day to get the move he wants, and so be it. His main focus is James Maddison, and I get that. I have almost, now given up on this whole Maddison deal. It's a player I wanted 3 windows ago. It's the first name on my shopping list when the takeover went through, but just for whatever reasons, we've just not been able to get this particular deal done. It's disappointing. It may well happen though. It may well just come out of the blue. There may be a period where it just doesn't go because there isn't teams queuing up for him at the moment. That's the other thing. There aren't teams queuing up. The only two teams you've heard so far are Spurs and Newcastle. Clearly doesn't look like Spurs are gonna go for him. So yeah, we'll watch it with interest. You know, we've got plenty of weeks to cover that. But George, just getting back to Tonali, you've had a safe trip out to Dubai, George. You're looking very chilled there.
Well, the great first days, either sitting around the pool or in the pool with me granddaughter.
All right, George, need to rub it in.
Which is always great.
Just working hard.
In a hotel in Motor City in Dubai on the edge of a Grand Prix racetrack. Shows you, this place shows you the competition, what competition and sports likes out here. You'll all watch the Grand Prix from Abu Dhabi, right? Well, the Grand Prix was being negotiated for Abu Dhabi. The sheikh that owns this bit, Dubai, built his own Grand Prix track to try and snooker the deal and try to pinch the deal for Abu Dhabi. It didn't quite work, so he's ended up with a racing track that they still use, but not for the Grand Prix. And that's just two sheikhs fighting against one another, you know. That's what it's like out here. I've got another song for you out here as well, Steve.
Go on.
Tonali, oh, Tonali, oh. I can't remember the rest, but that's the one out here.
That's good enough, George. That's good enough. I'm not even going to insult you by saying how wise have you not to attempt a tune?
No, well, Madison, you know, Steve, I've said before, I've thought for a while that Madison was a dead duck. We're now into 3 or 4 windows trying to persuade this lad to come here. I think when it gets to that, you cut your losses and go for somebody equally good or if possible better for the same money. So I don't worry too much about the Madison thing. I think it's dead, to be honest. Tonali is just absolutely fantastic for me. Right age, right style. Plays the sort of game that will fit into what we do, fit into the Premier League, in my view. And the Italians we had didn't do it too bad. Bastoni and the other lad were international class. At least got international squads. So, you know, if we get a bit more of that'll do me. But I think he's as others have said, he's way above those lads. He's a real international. As to leaving Milan, well, yeah, if you're going to leave your home base, it's not going to be easy. But he's got his mind on his profession, and that's coming first, and that's why he'll come to Newcastle. As to the people in Milan telling them how awful Newcastle is, I don't know how many of you lads have been to Milan, but I tell you what, it's about 20 miles of Scotchwood Road round Milan, I can tell you. It really is not the best. Once you've seen La Scala and the big art gallery and the big fashion house in the centre of Milan, there ain't much to see other than factories and what have you. It's not the prettiest city in Italy, never mind the world. But yeah, I can understand him being upset, but he strikes me as a lad that will buy into the culture. Yeah, he'll buy into what the other lads have bought into. They're already in the team, and that's very important for the squad, I think. So, so that's great, and you know, long may it continue. You know, as you've already commented, all of you. This came out of left field, as they say in the States, Kevin. Nobody was looking in that direction. I got a sneaking fancy that the first word came via a leak from his agent, I think. But that may be just me guessing. But you know, again, long may it continue. I'm happy to be like that. For years and years, we've had to suffer in all the local papers as well as the nationals. That Newcastle are going for this one, Newcastle are going for that one. And at one stage, I think, I'm trying to think which player it was, the fee went up every time we mentioned his name. You know, we were being asked for another grand. It just was ridiculous. So that's not happening now because it's done and dusted before it hits the big papers. So that's great. No, it's all good for Newcastle for me now, and I couldn't be more excited.
And are you on the Jaeger bombs yet, George?
No, as you know, I'm strictly teetotal, so a different animal to my son, I'm afraid. And
he'll be on his best behaviour, I bet.
Yes, of course he is. He's only had about 5 pints tonight while I've been with him.
Breakfast.
I was nearly late coming on because we went and had dinner in a nice restaurant. It was lovely. One of the places he goes to watch the match in, and they serve beautiful food. And it came tons of time till it came to the suite, and then stupid me asked for a crepe Suzette. And I think they must have sent all the way to bloody Paris for it because it took ages to go. I thought I was going to be late, but no, I'm fine and enjoying things and the day in the water and the pool.
You have a good time, George.
Yeah, you enjoy your break.
George.
Thanks for making the effort. Thanks for making the effort to come on tonight. Yano says the first thing Tonali will do is visit Sunderland because he'll have never seen a Mackem in Milan. John, what's your viewers and your chat saying on your channel about this signing?
Tonali, I'll tell you what, though, I mean, look, they're just so excited. I mean, to see this guy coming to Newcastle United. And I watch this guy because I love Italian football, as you well know, guys. So I know a bit about him. I mean, he's going to bring a bit of a G-star into the game. He's going to see a lot of passing as well. His dead balls piece is absolutely fantastic from this guy. He's a young player. He's destined for the very top. And I am shocked and amazed that Milan sold I'm going to send him to us. And people in Milan are shocked he's going to Newcastle because in Milan, they think Newcastle is not a prestigious club. But let me tell you something, right? Newcastle are a massive, massive club. And I've been to Milan. And believe you and me, they would not be happy about this selling them to us, like, do you know what I mean? But for me, enjoy this guy. He's going to make a huge difference in our midfield. And he could be the difference that can challenge for the title or get us the top 4 this season. And I love this player. It's so exciting. I just can't wait to see him in the black and white shirt. I mean, the 50-odd million quid, I think that, for me, is an absolute bargain. I don't care what anyone say. Milan wanted 80 million for him, 70 million for him, right? We got for a lot cheaper. I mean, I've got to say, big up to our owners, big up to Dan Ashworth, Eddie Howe for making this deal happen. And you know what it is, right? I mean, I love Serie A, but if he's going to come to the Premier, it was Newcastle United, and I look forward to seeing Sandro coming.
When you're paying 100 million for Declan Rice.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good
point. Exactly. Also, right? I mean, haggling for a deal 100 million for Declan Rice. This guy is better than Declan Rice. I'll tell you that right now. You see a difference in this guy.
I tell you what, John, he's going to free up Bruno as well. I mean, that midfield now. I mean, that midfield was one of our strongest assets. Along with our back 4 last year. That midfield now, and we'll come on to Anthony Gordon in the second half. That's the question for you guys in the second half. But I think Bruno. We've seen Bruno at his best, but at times in certain games, Bruno had to carry the team. Sometimes when he wasn't 100%. This guy alongside him is going to free him up. We're going to see a different Bruno next season, John.
I'm going to have to agree because we've all been saying that Bruno needs to be playing further forward and, he can't do everything, but credit to Bruno, playing with an injury, number 1. Number 2, right? I mean, he's a complete midfielder for me and he works his heart out as well. But the interesting thing is, and I've thought this over, right? Is Eddie going to change formation to a 4-2-3-1 or is he going to stick to a 4-3-3 and have tonight as a regista role? Regista means getting the ball as much as possible, demanding the ball. And, it's going to be very interesting because is Eddie going to think about changing it a little bit? I don't know. But I still go 4-3-3. But if you look at the midfield with Tonali, Bruno and Joe Linton, that is a cracking midfield three in my book. Do you know what I mean? I feel sorry for Joe Willock. I like him, but he's going to get in the team. Sean Longstaff, is he ever going to get in the team? Let's be real. Those 3 players I mentioned are levels above the 3 I just mentioned, yeah? But for me, like I said, Tonali, and I watched this guy is going to make a difference. So please, 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 trust me judgment. Just what I'm saying, he'll make a difference.
He will do. Halfway through the show, time for the ads.
A big thanks to all our sponsors. Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's sauces, which are handmade in Cumbria. Their website is mrvickies.co.uk. If you want to contact the guys, email info@mrvickies.co.uk or telephone 01768 210 102. Big thanks to New Workwear. They are an agile and dedicated workwear provider launched in 2018. For more information, go to their website, newworkwear.com. Big thanks, as always, to Media Arts for the help with the video side of things. If you want to support the channel, hit the subscribe button, become a subscriber today. Hit the thumb up under the video, which likes the video, and click share to share to your other social media. Click join if you want to become a member of the channel for as little as $1.99, or take a one-off payment for the cult membership. You can get in via this QR code if you've got a smartphone, or look for membership pack on the website, nufcmatters.com. What do you get for your one-off £25 payment? You get a scarf, a pen, and a cup, and a membership card, and entry into the monthly draw. Don't forget, if you want a car sticker, all you need to do is subscribe to the show and then email John at NUFC Matters, and he will post you a free car sticker out. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. And we also support the food bank on this channel. NUFCfansfoodbank.co.uk is the virtual matchday bucket where you can make a virtual donation 365 days of the year. The new Alan Shearer raffle is underway. 150 tickets at £1 a ticket. You could win a limited edition signed Alan Shearer ball from the 260 dinner. Enter now at nufcmatters.com. We've got a few events coming up. August the 5th sees Gavin Peacock at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets are £10, and you can get them now from nufcmatters.com. Our Christmas event takes place on the 7th of December at the Tyneside Irish Centre, and that's an evening with Frank Clark. Tickets are £15 and available from nufcmatters.com. Finally, Waddle, Keegan, Beardsley and Friends, the class of 84, is on at the Town Theatre and Opera House on Westgate Road in Newcastle on Thursday, January the 23rd. Tickets are now available from the Town Theatre and Opera House.co.uk or telephone 0844 2491 000. That's the box office telephone number 0844 2491 000.
For those tickets for that Keegan Waddle Beardsley event, get yourself onto the website as well. I've seen somebody comment today on social media saying that it's a premium rate line, that, and that it can take a little bit of time to get through. Tickets are going really well for that. And I know it's not till January next year, but if you do want decent seats, I would advise you to get in quick, because it's done a remarkable amount of tickets in a short space of time. So get yourself onto the website or give them a call and get your tickets today. All right. Want to ask you guys about Anthony Gordon. Alan, starting with you. He scored a goal for the under-21s, and their manager is playing Anthony Gordon up front as a striker. 2 games, two good games, and a lot of praise from not only his manager but also from his teammates at under 21 international level. Newcastle, of course, need to bolster their attack, and John obviously was saying there, will Eddie Howe change the formation? I mean, he's going to have so many options, but could Anthony Gordon save him going back into the transfer market and getting it? Would that be in his mind, do you think? Would you play Anthony Gordon up front, Alan?
No, but it gives you a different option. Certainly does. I've always felt as though we need another striker anyway, Steve. Lads, I do think we need it, but it certainly gives food for thought. I mean, he's had 1 assist, 1 goal choked off, and scored a goal, so it's grown well. But it certainly gives Eddie Howe food for thought about Anthony Gordon. I just think unless he bulks up, Steve, I think you'd be too lightweight for a forward role as a number 9. He might play in a false 10, but number 9, he would need to bulk up substantially. But it's certainly an option to have. It basically gives another Eddie Howe another good problem to have. But I wouldn't use him as an out-and-out striker, like Steve, as such.
Okay. Ian, would you?
If we were desperate, if we needed him, he can play there. I think there's a bit of there's a big difference. Get down, Shep. There's a bit of a difference, I think, between the under 21s and playing in the Premier League. So I think it's I think he is an option. So it's good. It's good to have that option. But from what I've seen, he's playing really well. And he's determined as well. That's what I like about him. He's like the players that we sign in all seem like they've got the right attitude. Like Tonali, I don't want to. Obviously, we've done a full section on him, so I'm not going to go back onto him. But same attitude. He's a winner. He's a fighter. You know, he's got that shithousery about him that Gordon's got. We all saw that. Nobody liked him before he played for us. You know. And I think this is going to be a season where he does come through. I think he'll get a lot more game time this season with a full pre-season, and it looks like he has bulked up a bit anyway. From what I've seen, it does look like he's not as skinny as he was. You've seen what happened with like Big Joe's, obviously like a bloody Roman, whatever you'd call him, centurion. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, and he wasn't like that when he appeared. So. But yeah, I just wanted to jump back, and I know this is going backwards, so apologies. But what I was saying there about players with the right attitude, that's for me what sort of puts me off now, Maddison. I am bored of it now, completely bored of it. And I just feel like he might be playing out for the best deal, but he might actually chuck himself under the bus and not get to come to Newcastle because Szoboszlai's release clause, which is set quite high, is coming to an end. And a lot of the talk is that as soon as that comes to an end, his price might actually drop and not stick at that level. And if his price drops, being 4 years younger than Maddison,
definitely,
then he becomes for me anyway, a much more interesting prospect than Maddison, this is probably Maddison's last big deal, last chance of getting a deal. And he might end up at Arsenal or he might end up at a lesser club than the Toon. So anyway, sorry, I just wanted to say that.
No, that's fair enough.
Spot on.
It's a good comment. Vince, Anthony Gordon up front.
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't play with wingers anymore. We play with 3 attacking players. Up front, that's it, 3 attackers. And I think that's how we'll see Gordon. And there's Aspen bulking up. I like what he said at the end of the season. He says, I noticed when I came here, everyone else is like athletes. They're up to speed. And he wants to get there, and I think that's what he's doing. The thing he's bulking up, he wants to get there, and that's what's great to see. That's what we want. That it's more. What's happening is more and more options are appearing. We'll just cover it here and there and stuff like that. So, you've got the lad, got Mickey, you can play on the right, and Gordon can play on the right, play there. Cover, you know what I mean? It's cover as well because this is going to be, going into the Champions League. We're gonna probably have to chop and change sometimes and all that. And he's going to be in there as well. So, it's great that it's another option string to his bow because, I think midfield's going to be full. You've got Joe Willock, Sean Longstaff, Tonali, Bruno. Joe Litton, who's, you know what I mean? It's got some midfield, some cover there as well. It's already starting to build. And I can see it because that's it. That's the way we play. We don't play it's like 3 attackers now. So you can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Anthony Gordon up front scored a good goal the other night. Kevin, thoughts?
It's an interesting one, and going back to the mighty win with a double pivot in midfield, you can not disagree with Alan a little bit, but you could play him as a false 9 because you could see that with Isaac playing as a false 9 as well. When he plays there, he doesn't run side to side in channels. He's versatile in the way he plays. But I could see it happening. Depends horses for courses. If you play against not saying a lower level side or like a Luton at home or something like that, you might be able to play him up in there. But he's got a bit of pace. I seen a little bit of the first game England played, and the goal that he scored against Chelsea, the chance that he had, he just timed his run a little bit late. It was a carbon copy of our goal against Chelsea, but he just didn't get there. It was just the moment of the game. But I could see it happening. But I mean, why not? Depends on Callum Wilson's injury record going further forward. If he gets injured, then you've got, unless we buy somebody else, then there's another option. You know, you've got then inverted wingers, then you can play a right-sider on the right side with Gordon on the right, or you could play Miggy, you can chuck Miggy out on the left and play Isak. You know, so you've got the cards are fully with Eddie Howe, and whatever hand he wants to play, he can play with multiple different options, and it's a fabulous decision to have as a coach. It's the hardest decision to have, but it's the best decision to have because you hold all the cards, you hold all the aces essentially. Yeah, so I could see that happening, but again, just jumping into the Madison thing, I think that ship sailed. I'll go after our mate Dom because I watched a little bit of him, and I think he's the market value and the progression for him would be a lot greater than Madison, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, I wouldn't. Again, it'd put him in like for Gordon's sake in terms of the League Cup or an FA Cup game or something like that, just something different what we nobody ever seen before. So yeah, why not? Why not?
Darren, Anthony Gordon as a centre forward. Did you think you would? Do you think you would go for that or not?
Not for me. I do think he's bulked a bit though. I looked at him yesterday. He looked like he's put a lot of like muscle on a little bit more. He's looked a bit more actually, but he's bulked up a bit. I think I was on the end of the wings. I think he's more dynamic that way. You know what I mean? I think create more on the left or the right. I'll centre forward if it's desperate, if the shorter players are playing. But I like he'll come good. He's in England at 21 at the minute, and he'll have a little break and he'll come back for the season. But I think he'll do. He'll come good. I'm confident. And I hate to say that I've had a power cut. So yeah, alarm on the background. That's what
was happening, right? Okay, no worries. You sound a little bit warped, mate, but we've got you. We can hear you, so don't worry about it, Darren. We'll be fine. Barry, what's your thoughts on the Anthony Gordon scenario?
I think it's. I mean, it's like the guys have said. It's another option. I think you've got to look at where we stand at the minute. Wilson isn't going to last the full season. Best will in the world. You wrap him up in cotton wool and bubble wrap, he's still going to get injured at some stage during the season. It's inevitable because somebody's going to, the noise history, they'll slide in on him and try and take him out the game at some stage. So he's going to pick up some. Go for it. I mean, he's got the pace, he's got the ability. We always said it would be really interesting to see him get a close season under Eddie Howe, and he hasn't even had that yet. And he's looking a much better player just playing for England. And you just think, I don't think he'd be an out-and-out centre forward number 9 in what we think of the mold, but then Isak isn't like that either. So I think the guys are right as well. You could have Isak on the left, him on the right, interchanging backwards and forwards. They're both capable of crossing over. Yeah, I mean, I still think we'll get somebody else as an out-and-out striker. I think we have to, just with the amount of games we're going to play and the fragility of Wilson. He would be the concern for me, not his ability wise, but just that is he going to last a full season with those extra games chucked in? And I think Gordon is going to be class. I think he's got a big future ahead of him. Once Howe gets a hold of him in this close, the pre-season, I think he'll just get better and better.
George, I mean, I guess the beauty about Anthony Gordon is he can play across the front, can't he? He can play left, he can play right, he can play through the middle, he can play a number 10 role, and that's something that's going to be massively beneficial for him. But like Steve Watson and the Entertainers, when you've got more than one string to your bow, then you've got more chance of playing.
What a dream for a manager to have a bloke that's as versatile as that. But the lads have already mentioned the one thing he's got in spades is pace. And the one thing that defenders do not like is to have somebody running at them at 100 miles an hour. And he's very, very capable of doing that from any part of the field. So his versatility is going to be his passport as far as I'm concerned. And it wouldn't surprise me to find him occasionally as the number 9 because he seems to be good in the air as well. So it wouldn't surprise me. I'm not certain that that's how Eddie would pick him, but Eddie Howe's going to be really, really have a very versatile player. If you look at him and Isak, they're both very similar in many ways. Isak can play on either side. Gordon can play on either side. Isak can play up the middle. I suspect Gordon could play up the middle. So it's a nice problem for Eddie Howe to have, and a one that I look forward to seeing solved to our advantage. it's not unusual for Newcastle to have players like that, mind, going long way back. I mean, Jackie Milburn signed as a right winger, and he ended up centre forward, but he was a great right winger as well. Len White came as a very unknown right winger and ended up as a centre forward as well. So it's not unusual for players to Newcastle to play across the front and occupy 2 or 3 different positions. So, no, I'm looking forward to it. He's got the bit between his teeth as well. He's keen to show, and it got him into trouble at the Brentford game because he kicked off. I wasn't unhappy about that because Eddie Howe wasn't unhappy about that. What Eddie Howe wants is players that want to be on the field, not players that don't want to be on the field. And so, the kids, I think, heading in the right direction. And the little bit I've seen on the under-21s, he's been the outstanding player each time I've seen him. It's all right saying, it's only the under-21s, but these are the future of the football, and we have to have one of the best for the future. So I think Anthony Gordon is looking good for us.
Okay, John, Anthony Gordon, centre forward or winger?
Well, I mean, Eddie loves the flexibility, doesn't he, in the team, and wherever you play, you've got to play there. But to be honest with you, I mean, I like as a winger, as a 10, he can play there. But if he plays him up front, I've got no problems with it at all whatsoever. Wouldn't be my first choice, but I think this kid is going to be an absolute stellar player for in the years to come. I've got every faith in Anthony Gordon. He's young. He's 22. I think he's 22, something like that. And he's gonna come a long, long way. He's bulked up. I've noticed that. And listen, at the end of the day, if Eddie thinks about playing up front in future years, excuse me, then it could save us a lot of money. It could save us millions in the long run. But for me, I mean, I like to see him as a winger for now, and then plays a 10. And long may it continue. But as a striker, I leave that to Eddie. But it's a tough one. I like to see it happening.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the flexibility and being versatile is definitely the key, lads. I do think. Emmett commented earlier, "Hey guys, in terms of Maddison, is it a case of biding our time?" I think we discussed this. Is Maddison likely to push for a move? I can't see him wanting to still be there for the first championship game. I think it'll come late, that one, Emmett. I certainly do. And a question for the lads from Tim Cairns. He says, "Is it foolish to believe we've got a good chance of a trophy or even a title next season?" It depends who we sign, Tim. That really is the question, isn't it? If we sign enough players, and we have a bit of luck with injuries and a little bit of luck with suspensions and a little bit of luck with VAR, the world is our oyster. I'm going to go with a question for the panel from Tunali, is a Geordie, and is Pope our best keeper since Shea Given? John, I'll give you this one first. Is Pope our best keeper since Shea Given, do you think?
I would say yes. I mean, I've seen nothing for the first season out of us, and he's been absolutely outstanding this season. Nick Pope, he's made saves after saves, and had it been for him, then we probably would have lost some games, like the Palace at home, for example, 2 great saves. And for me, Shea Given's always going to be the best goalkeeper in my lifetime as a Newcastle fan, and I can't lie, and Srnicek as well, of course, but Nick Pope will be close.
All right, okay, George. Nick Pope, the best since Given?
I agree with that, yes. I've got to admit that when he came, I was thinking to myself, what the devil were buying a goalkeeper from a relegated team for?
Yeah.
Is that because he's good at picking the ball out the net? I don't know. Wherever it was, I couldn't see it myself. But since he's been at Newcastle, he's had some outstanding displays. None better than the last game against Leicester. That last save he made at the end, when he'd done out all afternoon, and in the last 5 minutes, suddenly Leicester looked like they'd score, or Nick Pope stood in the way. Now that's concentration for you. That's all top goalkeepers have to have that. And that for me sealed it. Pope has been one of our best, no doubt about it.
Okay, I mean, Barry names that come to mind: Tim Krul, Steve Harper, Dubravka. In recent years, but is Pope the best since Given? Was the question.
It's a hard one, isn't it? Because don't get us wrong. I think Pope's a good keeper, but you've got an unbelievable back four. that's the best back four I've ever seen in a Newcastle team in front of him. So how much of that makes him look better than? I mean, we've discussed this before, Steve. There's at times he looks a little bit shaky. I think any goalkeeper with those four in front of him would look unbelievable. I think Krull looked at times. He looked amazing in some very, very poor teams. And that Shea just for me, there's only Shea and Pavel who would be the top of the list in my lifetime of who played for them. Yeah, I think he's certainly probably the best goalie we've had since Given, but I think a lot of it is down to the defense that we've got. I think the defense has been absolutely outstanding. Those four just unbelievable, and I think they're only going to get better as well.
David Burt pushing a line there. He says Newcastle in advanced talks to sign Livramento. That's apparently been confirmed. I'll have to have a look for that. But I mean, obviously, he's a right back who is at, if I remember rightly, Southampton, who's just been relegated. Tino Livramento. So, yeah, that could be an interesting one. Another young player, of course. Another one which fits the remit. Another defender. One would question what that would spell the end, obviously, for one or two people across there. We've got Kieran Trippier, of course. We've signed a young lad from West Ham, of course, another full back. We've got Manquillo. We've got Kraft, of course, coming back from a horrendous injury. So, right back, not the side where you would imagine Newcastle would be looking to strengthen, but if that's true, then they clearly see something in the player. Darren, just the goalkeeper. Getting back to that, Nick Pope, best since Given. Oh, you're on mute, Darren. You're on mute.
Sorry.
Go for it, mate. Go for it. Sorry, it must have been when you went out.
Am I back now?
Yeah, you're back now. Go on.
Yeah, you're back now.
Right, sorry. I would say I'm a big, but like Barry said, Pavel Servacek will always be my number one. But you can't judge him on one season. Like I think Barry said, our back four has been fantastic this last season. And if Shea Given had the back four, Pav had that back four this season, I think they would have done the same or a better job. So I'll judge him next year and see how he does, but just too early to say he's been the best keeper since Shea Given or Pavel Servacek. So he's still got a lot to do in my eyes.
Okay, the Livramento deal is being reported on by John Percy and Luke Edwards in the Telegraph. Went live 20 minutes ago. James Ward-Prowse is also of interest to Eddie Howe, the article says. So, Kevin, your views on the goalkeeping situation? I mean, Nick Pope, I think it's a valid point Barry makes about playing in front of a solid back four. But it's an equal point that George makes about the game against Leicester, for example, the penalty shootouts getting a mention, of course. How good he is at penalties. There's an argument for and an argument against, but he doesn't really have many goalkeepers to compare against, I don't think, in that time.
Agreed. And what I would say is Nick Pope, yes, we've got a better defence what we've had previously, and with goalkeepers behind them, which I totally agree with the points what the lads have already made. But however, as a top England international, your communication skills, your command of your area in certain points in the game, I think he's a bit better than that within like Shea Given. I don't know. There's other reports that I've heard Shearer talk about it and other defenders or whatever. He's very, very vocal, but obviously I was in the stadium. I didn't see it. But with Nick Pope, he's a big lad and he commands his area very well. Great, brilliant shot stopper, but the one block on his career so far is his footwork and the ball at his feet, and that's the only one. Shea Given wasn't the best. Pav was one of the greatest goalkeepers I've seen play with the ball at his feet in my lifetime. I thought he was brilliant. I used to go and watch him train at Maiden Castle, and it was just he could have played outfield, he could have played centre midfield or centre half or something like that. It was just that was the level he was at. But it's a difficult one. It's a specified position in terms of being a goalkeeper. So I think he's very, very close. It's just that footwork and his distribution ability that he has to really work on over the in the summer into the pre-season. But yeah, I think he's command of the back four, the command of taking crosses late in games, takes a lot of, and I've listened to other podcasts with him on it, and he's a very positive goalkeeper. He's a very front foot goalkeeper where he'll come and take the ball. If he misses it, but he makes a very clear choice early. And that's just, again, opinions, but I think he's up there. I agree with Darren. We'll see what happens next year with a sterner test of Champions League football and X, Y, whatever we're playing. So we'll see. But yeah, I think he's up there.
Okay, Vince?
Yeah. I agree with Kevin and the lads there. Some of them like to say it's like to go on and say just the top four, like some of the saves he pulled off, like it says that the penalty saves as well. He's just like says, I mean, you look at him, he just towers. I like it when they're in just the tunnel and you see their little keeper and our giant of a man next to them. I love that every time. He's such a presence, and that's what like says. Well, fear the God, like because that's what he makes the goal look smaller, the size of him, and that's a great attribute to have. You know what I mean? But he's like to me, like I think he is. Since she given like says love like Pavel and all that as well. But I mean, don't forget the rocket scientist Shaka. Like says but I like says but no, like says to me, like Pope, no, like says. I mean, that's one of the things we want for like is a keeper who can do that, like be out of the game reading a book for 85 minutes and then put the book down and make a great city, and that's what he's done in a few games, saved it just like that, and that's to have that in your arm is class, isn't it? Pope, I think it's class to me.
Ian says, I don't know if he's the best since Shea Given, but for £10 million, he's an absolute steal, Ian.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely.
Ian.
Like, I mean,
no, look at it. I've moved on to Ian, Vince.
Right, sorry. I'm in there, you're reading that.
but then Ian was doing a very good job of being Max Wall, and he was doing a Harold Lloyd. He's muted himself. You've muted yourself, Ian. We can't hear you, Ian. You've muted yourself. That's it.
Yeah, cheers, man. For me, I would say without a doubt he's the best keeper since Shea Given. I can't remember anybody since Shea saving us so many points in one season. I know he's only been here a season. I know he's got the best back four definitely that we've had probably since I've supported Newcastle, in my opinion. And but when the defence has been breached and it's come to someone pulling off a world-class save, he's done it, and he's done it multiple times. He made really, for me, his footwork's not great. He's not the best with the ball at his feet, but everything else that he does is fairly spot on, apart from the red card where he timed himself out a little bit for that header. But yeah, no, I think he is. He's without a doubt the best in Shea. I think if he gets another 2 or 3 seasons and keeps improving and works on with the ball at his feet, he could be up there with Shea.
Yeah, okay. Mark Vickers says Given couldn't wait to leave after relegation. He actually left before. He left when Liverpool scored 5 or 6 goals past Newcastle. He didn't want to know. Gary Moore says, do you think if we sign to Bosley, we mightn't even need a keeper next season? Alan, just finish off with you, mate, just on the goalkeeper situation there. Yeah, is he the best since Given? He hasn't got much competition, has he? I think that's what we've established.
True. Mick Mahoney, super goalie for me. No, basically, I'll copy and paste with Darren, to be honest, Steve. I think 1 year's too early. Dubravna, has been a hell of a keeper for it. I know it's changed his image shooting off the Man United, but he's been good for it, Dubravna. I'd say another season. If he does the same next season, then I would totally agree he's the best since Shane Given. But I agree with Barry as well. 1 season, you cannot really judge and make effect with that back four in front of him. So if he does the same next season, lads, yes, without doubt, he's the best since Shane Given.
Okay, great stuff, lads. Thanks to John, thanks to George, thanks to Barry, thanks to Darren, thanks to Kevin, thanks to Vince, thanks to Ian, and thanks to Alan.
See you next month after we win the Ashes, Steve.
Yeah, after we win the Ashes. Thanks everybody in the chat.
Weekend when it's back on.
Good to
Thanks
see you.
everybody in the chat, and thanks to all the moderators. Great to have everybody
If we
on.
win the Ashes, Darren, we'll be in the top 4.
I'm back 7 o'clock tomorrow night with Liam Kennedy for the transfer show. Take care, guys.
Cheers, lads.
Right.